try to avoid making too much sense on this record because, to me, like ambiguity and mystery and a little provocation to make you think is far more powerful and more important than sort of just wagging your finger and saying, "Oh, I know what he's saying. You know, don't do this, do that, don't know." So I try and like spin it a little bit. I just like life, you know, where you're not quite sure what's actually going on. When you start to do a whole piece of work by yourself, you find that really they all kind of relate to each other in one way or another. And it got to the point with Steve Jordan and I on this song, like finishing off the writing, was that's a great line, but it won't fit in there. Okay, we'll stick it in that one, you know, because they're really, in a way, they become one song. With music, trying to cram everything in, as I said, that's the trap, you know, it's where everybody, or a lot of people fall down. But if a guy was going to do a painting, he'd have an empty canvas, right? And if you're a musician, silence is your canvas. And you never want to fill in the whole thing because then you've just covered it all in some kind of paint and and so you've lost one of the most interesting parts about music is where you don't play. Bringing Waddy in on the production end on this record was too much. It was because Steve and I we enjoy working with each other, but we all waste a lot of time like black and whiting, you know, yelling at each other, you know, like I don't know, because Steve and I, that's the way we work. We don't give it. We can insult each other to the end of the day, you know, and nobody gives a damn, you know. We just push each other. So we said, well, we need a breaker between us this time. If I hadn't have taken the Winos on the road, this record would have probably been totally different than it is. I'm not saying whether it would be better or worse, or it would have been different. One of the first lessons I learned by taking the Winos on the road is that, hey, let's use this, you know, these extra talents that everybody's got, because you know that's one of the strengths of this band, that you can switch Charlie Drayton to drums, and Steve to guitar, and me to bass, or Ivan to bass, and Steve will take piano. You know, we can do all of that, and you get different textures. So that was one of the first things I learned about going on the road with the Winos. And also, there's a lot of good voices in the band. Charlie Drayton, Steve Jordan, Waddy, Ivan, Sarah Dash. There's a couple of new voices. Bernard Fowler, who works with the Stones, and Bobby Floyd, is a great singer. I learned a lot from those guys working with them this year. This is the second time around, and the Winos are kind of developing. And if I can keep those guys together for as long as I can, it's one of the best bands in the world. It's a very intriguing band, you know. And the potential is only just starting to show itself. The Stones got too big for their own good. So, I mean, somebody had to sort of break out. So the solo thing, as much as I hated the idea, was I'm saying, now I'm going into the conflicts of interest situate, which I've been trying to avoid, which is like, if I'm going to do a solo thing, do I keep this song for me, or do I give it to the Stones? All that, I don't want to be in that position, which is why I resisted it for so long. When I got into it, yeah, it becomes another thing, you know. You say, well, I've written this song now, and so that's where it goes. It goes with these guys, and because I'm working, I know that I can write a lot more songs. Just as and when it's time for the Stones, I can do that and write for them. So a lot of it was, I guess, Mick and I both trying to avoid putting ourselves in that situation, but at the same time, there's no way you could just be the Rolling Stones anymore. You had to do something else, you know, just because if you didn't, you'd say, well, you know, it was my fault. You know, you never got out there. So, I mean, Mick reached his peak of frustration just a little bit before me. I mean, I wouldn't have been the first one to do it. your image is something you drag around like on a chain behind you, and other people get onto it, you know, and it's and sometimes you cringe, you say that's not really what I meant. Yeah, that in order to make the music that I've wanted to make, and being blessed and being given the opportunity to do it, the other part is what I had to do in order to do it. You know, it's you know, or what I had to go through. That's how it turned out. You know, I didn't sort of go into this saying I want to be a really great sort of rebel sort of image sort of guy. You know, and I think I'll just wear this guitar. That might help. You know, I mean, so it depends how you approach this thing. To me, it's the music first. Everything else has come out of what I've needed to do to make the music. And so if it takes skulls and hell and everything else, you go through it, right? You go through it and you say, well, I'm going in and I'll see if I come out.